So what is your initial reaction to the budget so far?
Well, look, after years of austerity, Peter, here we are. We're still in the pandemic. We're coming out of a deep recession, and there's a few things I want to really welcome. One is we've got the Treasurer again saying this morning the searing focus is on bringing down long-term unemployment and focusing on that unemployment target. That's a very important shared goal for all of us. Right now, we've got 700,000 people who are long-term unemployed, and still the big picture on the labour market is there's only one job available for 7 people who are looking for a job or more paid hours. And of course, that focus on training and skills is in this package. And the government we've failed with that in the past, haven't we? What the government has done this time is focused on regional labour markets with their regional employment programs, 50 of them, and we'll be very keen to work with the government on that. Of course, there's this investment in the care services area. All of them so long overdue, Peter. Aged care, you don't get more pressing than that. Childcare and mental health, all of these are modest, can I be clear about that, but extremely welcome. What's happened though is people on the lowest incomes have been completely left behind out of this budget. And in fact, the government has cut social security for newly arrived migrants, and we're just really shocked by that.
Well, you talk about migrants and migration there. Is one of the benefits there, though, Cassandra, that there's more jobs here for everyone else?
This is a measure, so 671 million the government has booked in the budget papers as a cost saving. They plan to now make any newly arrived migrant wait 4 years to access any kind of social security. At the moment, for example, family payment, which is the one to help you with children, including when you're in low-paid work, you've got to wait 1 year. And if you're a carer, you've got to wait 2 years for a carer's payment. But the government is proposing from next year that anybody will have to wait 4 years. That means that we'll have families facing destitution. And I really hope the Parliament says we're not prepared to do that. The bigger debate about, opening of the borders and what we do in terms of skills, what I'm really encouraged by, as I say, is that we do have a focus on how to support retraining and education for people who are currently locked out of paid work within Australia. And we just need to, again, revisit what we should be doing around migration. But whoever you are, the jobs have got to be decent and they've got to be well paid.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make, is the fact that migration, skilled migrants, they're not coming here at the moment, so that's, that leaves more jobs for everyone else.
But what kind of jobs and where are they, Peter? So I think seeing that this budget in the detail is recognising that labour markets are very regional, and so we need regional plans to tackle this, and we would support that.
But having a job, regardless of what it is better than no job, though, right?
Well, except if it makes you really ill and you are exploited or you're in destitution even though you're working too many hours. And so that's the kind of, everybody's talking about wages growth and what that problem there. And so including, for example, in how we now grow these care service sectors, many of those are very low paid. And of course, we want to see those workers get decent pay out of this. Housing, Peter, I don't know whether you've talked to many other people about that area, but we don't have much in this budget that deals with housing at all. Nothing for low-income housing. And of course, if you're wanting people to move, to start afresh, to take on a job at low pay, they've got to afford to live where they're moving to, and regional rents have gone up as well as housing prices. And we would have wanted to see a big investment in social housing, plenty of jobs in there. The government had overwhelming support for that one. We still don't understand why we can't get the Commonwealth to move on that. It's just such a winner.
Yeah, I think you might find that Labor starts to move on in that space as well during its budget reply. You mentioned aged care and you mentioned childcare, Cassandra. What do you make of the announcements around women so far and the huge amount of funding that's gone towards it? The government's doubled its funding when it comes to domestic violence prevention.
Yeah, so look, won't it be great when we get to the day, Peter, where we're talking about childcare is, for all of us rather than, only for mothers. But the reality is we know childcare investment really does affect the participation of women in the workforce. This is another sort of down payment on fixing childcare in Australia. We really want to see essentially universal and relatively free access on childcare, and so we're not there yet, but there's a solid line of women and business leaders and unions and the community sector all lined up to keep pushing on that one. On the other measures around the women's policy, look, all of them you'd say they're good, but it's all pretty modest. I mean, the $3.5 billion, that's over the Fords. For example, the money in family and domestic violence, you say it's a doubling, but that means an additional about $100 million per annum. And you put that in contrast, for example, to the tax offset, which is going to cost the budget $7.8 billion per annum. So a straight up tax cut for people who've already got jobs, a lot of money, and very modest investment in family and domestic violence, given the issues that are at stake. So what we've got is a federal budget that says it wants to be taken seriously on gender. Well, we've got to see it really do the work on that. And what we haven't got in the budget is the gender responsive budgeting. In other words, a dollar for dollar analysis about whether this is really being fairly shared between across women and men as well.
Okay, Cassandra Goldie, CEO at ACOS. Appreciate your time as always, Cassandra. We'll talk to you again soon.